Hello, welcome to the Constitution Training. My name is Courtney Lakaitis. I am the Program Manager to Student Organizations in the Office for Student Involvement and Leadership. This training is one of 3 requirements that at least the president and treasurer of each new student organization must complete in order to move on to the RSO status. To go over some housekeeping items before we get started, please keep your Engage form close by so that you can complete the questions and download the Constitution template if needed. You'll additionally, and lastly, you'll upload your first Constitution draft to the form at the end, and then you'll be able to count all that for attendance. That's the purpose of the Engage form, is to account for your accountability and for your attendance as well. When you see a title page or you hear me call out what would sound like a title page, that will indicate to you that you can move on to the next page in your Engage form. Because this is a video, you obviously can start, stop, fast forward, and rewind on the video at any point. So if you need to rehear information or maybe go back a slide to be able to see some of the content that's on the page, you're welcome to do so at any point. Lastly, whenever you get ready to submit your first draft, you will upload that to the last page of your Engage form, and you will click Submit in order to receive attendance. So let's go ahead and get started. To do an overview, we're going to talk about the purpose of a constitution. We'll also go over the breakdown between a constitution and a bylaw. I'll help you create an outline and let you have some opportunities to fill in that information. And then, of course, we'll talk about your next steps. So starting on page 3 of your Constitution Engage training form, we will talk about the purpose of a constitution. So page 3 for you. So the purpose of a constitution is to provide structure and governance to an organization. It also indicates how business is conducted. It determines limitations and permissions. And your constitution, most importantly, is the bones of your student organization. So to talk about a breakdown and some of the differences between the Constitution and the bylaw, the Constitution is how you do business and operate from year to year. It's the fundamental principles. And I want you to think of the Constitution as the clothes you must wear in order to enter a building. Bylaws are the details of your operation. They are specific rules of guidance, and I want you to think of the bylaws as the colors and patterns of your clothes that make an outfit look good. You are not required to have bylaws, but if it will better serve your student organization and your structure, you of course are welcome to include them, and they'll just be an additional, basically a separate page or a separate set of pages, or even sometimes a separate document depending on the size of both the Constitution and the bylaws. Okay, so we're going to go to page 4 on your Engage form. Okay, so this is the Constitution outline. And you will see at the top of the page, there's an instructions box with a hyperlink that says Constitution template. If you have not started your Constitution template yet, you are welcome to utilize this at your own leisure. I'm going to, while I talk about this, I'm going to download it just so I can talk about it a little bit. So there are some specific instructions on the first page for you. You eventually will delete that page, and I use the Baking Club as an example for this, and I've just kind of plugged and chugged some information in there. Just to go over some of the color coding for this, words that are written in red are instructions, so things that I want you to think about or consider or things that you need to do. Words that are written in blue are an example of what we're trying to talk about. So you'll see under the mission statement, there's the entire mission statement is in blue because that's just an example of what we're doing. And then anything that is included in black or written in black must be included. And there are a number of specific phrases or points that need to be included in your Constitution. So for example, if you open the document and look under Article 3, membership, the point 2 and point 3 are 2 statements that must be included in your constitution. So even if you have a constitution already developed, I would really encourage you to open up this template and copy and paste some of those required things, just so that you can cover those bases ahead of time, and then we can talk about them whenever we meet next in person. So there are some specific guidelines and requirements that we have within our office, and then also within like the policy of being a student organization. So of course you're welcome to open the template here. The template is also available on the SORT profile. If you ever need a refresher or can't find it on the form, you can always go back and get the template there. But I want you to think about what you need before we get started. Do you need just a constitution? Do you need constitution and bylaws? Or is there any type of national affiliation constitution that you need to consider or include in on your training? And that could be for anything for like an honorary fraternity, or if you needed to have like a national social Greek fraternity or sorority, or even specific guidelines within maybe even a sport club. So just some things to think about there. So you're actually going to not really have to pay attention to your form much right now, because we're going to go over all the different points of the outline that you'll see, and I'm just going to kind of talk through them with you. If you have your constitution already created and you aren't utilizing the template, I want you to bring up your template or your own like constitution template, and compare and contrast what you have and what I require or would suggest to be in your constitution. So let's get started on what is in a constitution outline. So you have your name, your purpose, officer positions and requirements, membership requirements, advisors, meetings, elections, and operating procedures. Those are the biggest topics and sections. Like your Article 1 would be like your name and purpose. Article 2 would be officer and position requirements, like those sorts of things. You can use whatever template or guidance that you want from like my template, or even your own thoughts and understanding of it, or even if you want to Google something else, you're welcome to do that as well. So those are the items that we're going to go over for this constitution training here. So your name of your constitution. So this would be Article 1 for you. You need to list your full name of your student organization. You are welcome to provide a short name or an acronym. So like Student Government Association is the full name, but SGA is their acronym, or what we use is like a short name. And then you need to list if you're affiliated with any national organization. Article 2 is your mission statement. The mission statement is a short statement of why an organization exists, what its overall goal is, identifying the goal of its operations, what kind of product or service it provides, its primary customers or market, and its geographical region of operation. So you've already completed your mission and values training. You're welcome to take that mission statement that you created in there and put it in your constitution, and we can keep evolving of that statement. That's totally fine. But I want you to think big picture. What does your student organization do? What is your purpose for coming to Wright State and to be a part of the student organization community? You're welcome to do anything, any editing here if you'd like. Another good thing that I always like to offer is that if you have an organization that you think is pretty popular for other college and campuses, you're always welcome to Google mission statements for your type. So like I Googled mission statements for baking clubs because they are a very well used example. And they do exist somewhere in the country at a school. But you're welcome to utilize, Google and see what other people include in some of their mission statements and in their purposes. Your executive board officers. So this could be something that could be Article 3 or Article 4, whatever makes sense to you. I think on the template, it's Article 4 here. So the executive board officers are traditionally made up of the president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary. Please note that the president and treasurer are required positions to be in active student organizations. So those are your minimum requirements, is having your president and your treasurer. What positions will be a part of the executive board? Do you need additional officers such as an events chair, marketing chair, social media chair? Some organizations even have like philanthropy chairs, judicial chairs, anything like that. What are the responsibilities of the officers? How long are the officers in positions? Do you have any requirements, such as like a GPA requirement, past involvement in the organization? And then lastly, you want to consider what the removal process is for officers. So is there like a strike system? Is there a point system? Is there a written communication with like a verbal communication? Is it a warning? Is there an impeachment trial? Like, what is your process for removal of officers? And just go ahead and think through that. Of course, you're welcome to be starting and stopping the video as often as possible. Just, to think through and some of the ideas and work through some of the questions. Okay, so we'll move on to membership requirements. Again, this can be any article number that you choose. On the template here, it's Article 3. If you want to move it to Article 4 or Article 5, you're welcome to do that. It doesn't really matter. So requirements for your members. What requirements do you have? Do you need to be a part of a specific major? Do you need to have specific experience or knowledge about the topic that your organization is focused on? Is there a GPA requirement? Anything like that. What types of memberships do you have? And this is kind of like a Courtney thing. I like to think of membership as kind of a twofold process. There's some organizations that I've seen in undergrad, grad, and even now at Wright State, where there may be 100 students that are involved in the organization. But maybe only 25 to 30 of those show up to your meetings or your events regularly. That's totally fine. You're welcome to have that. You may want to identify the difference between a general member and an active member. That could be something that you talk about. So maybe an active member is somebody who has voting rights, where a general member can come and hang out, but maybe they don't have to pay dues or they don't get to have voting rights because of their level of involvement or whatever structure you're considering. For your membership requirements, do you require to have dues? Is there any type of attendance requirements for events or meetings? Do there need to be service hours requirements? And lastly, just as like you would do for your officer requirements, go ahead and figure out some type of removal process for your members. This should be something that kind of aligns with the officer removal, but should be less work and less complicated than an officer. Removing an officer is a pretty serious deal, and removing a member is also serious, but it may not take as long, and it may be a quicker process to be able to remove your members. Okay, so your advisor. Student organizations are permitted to have multiple advisors, but one of the advisors must be a full-time faculty or staff member of the university. So other advisors that you could have could be another on-campus advisor. Maybe it's a graduate assistant or it's just a co-advisor, somebody who wants to share the responsibilities. You could have an off-campus advisor. You could have coaches, again, the graduate assistants or the teaching assistants, anything like that. So you are required to have one full-time faculty or staff advisor, and then of course you can have others as you may see, to be fit or as applicable. This is the biggest part of the advisor role. What are their responsibilities to the student organization? I want you to think of this as writing a job description for the advisor. This is something that the leadership should be deciding and then sharing with the advisor of, hey, we wrote this out and we kind of had you in mind and we wanted to ask you if this was cool with you. You can definitely change your constitution. We'll talk about the process for that later. But I want you to think about what it really means for the advisor to be a part of your organization. Are they heavily involved? Are they moderately involved? Are they not involved at all other than maybe like signing a paper and attending a couple events? What do they need to do to be a good advisor for your org? Are they required to attend meetings and events? Do they have to have any specific experiences to be able to support? So, obviously, if you're the baking club, you don't really want someone who is only knowledgeable in lawn care. Maybe you want to have somebody who's, been on like one of the baking shows, or is, has like their own baking business on the side that you found them on Facebook or something like that. I don't know. The world is yours. So think through how you would want to define those experiences for your advisor. And then, of course, what is the removal process? Again, you're going to have to decide how you would decide of removing the officer or the advisor, just as much as you would for the officers and for the members as well. Okay, moving along to meetings. Meetings are important to the student organization because this is where you conduct business, is also where you develop as an organization, and you grow in community with one another. So what type of meetings is your officer or your student organization going to hold? Is it going to be general body meetings? Is there going to be committee meetings, executive board meetings? Is the president required to meet with the advisor? What does that look like for you? How often will you meet? So this can just be a quick statement such as, we will meet bi-weekly, we will meet monthly, we will meet weekly. You do not need to put in, we will meet every Tuesday at 7 p.m. in the Atlantis room. You can just say very generically when you're going to meet. You don't need to put in names, dates, times, locations, anything like that. And lastly, is there going to be an attendance requirement? I think we talked about this a little bit in the membership, but just to reiterate this in the meetings requirements, you might want to consider that. And then how do the members communicate if they're not going to be in attendance? Does there need to be an email sent 48 hours in advance? Is GroupMe okay? Is sending a text message okay? Like, what does that look like? You could also think about like attendance requirements. So some organizations have a point system. Some organizations, they allow one excused absence, or they allow excused absences for class requirements or family emergencies or anything like that. That's another thing you might want to consider including. Elections. Elections is so stinking important. I cannot emphasize this enough. And I also want to say, before I get started, I think I put it in here in the comments for the elections process on the template here, but Engage has an opportunity for you to create an elections ballot under your profile, and it lets you open that elections ballot and let your members on your roster vote in the elections. So that might be something that you want to consider. I also will be providing information on how to create election ballots and all that sort of stuff, so be on the lookout for that. But just know that is an option through Engage. It is completely secure. It is real. It is not something that you can bust into and create all this drama and all this sort of stuff. It's a real working elections ballot, and I personally love it. So consider that. But elections in and of themselves. The elections process is created to pass the torch from one student organization officer to another. So when is your elections going to take place, and how is that process going to happen? Who is going to be on the ballot? So is it just going to be the president? Is it going to be all executive board members? Are people going to run together on a ticket? So that would be called like a slate. So SGA's advisor, or the SGA's president and vice president, they always run together on a ticket. If you're doing, if you're running by ticket for every single person, so let's say that you have president, vice, secretary, and treasurer, you could have multiple slates of just those 4 people. It's totally up to you. What kind of the requirements are there for potential candidates? How will your elections be conducted? Again, that's whenever Engage can come in and be a good resource for that. And then when will the new officers begin their responsibilities? Those are some of the things that you can think about. I do see them in the process of the elections officer is section 2 or item 2 under Article 4. So if you are looking for that, there's some instructions and information there if you wanted to use that as a piece of guidance, other than just like having these questions here. Okay, operating procedures. So what does it look like to make your decision-making process? So how will your organization make decisions? How are those decisions going to be shared? What does all that look like for you? Amending the Constitution. This is something that I cannot wait to have a conversation about and educate all of you on. Amending the Constitution, meaning that you're going to make a change or an edit to the Constitution. I want you to think about who can make those. So is it a specific role within an organization, or is it a group of people? Who can actually make the edits? So again, like, is there a committee chair that can only do that? How do you vote? So that is quorum, and put the amendments into action. Most of the time, quorum is 2/3 vote, which would be important to know. Like, again, it goes back to your membership requirements and having like the quorum for that. So if you have 2/3 vote of your active members or 2/3 vote of all members, you might want to consider that. But that vote is what puts your new Constitution into action. It is one of the most important pieces of the Constitution. If you make changes to your Constitution and you do not vote on it and you do not obtain quorum, you cannot put the new edited Constitution into action. Okay? Super, super important. I really want you to consider that one. Think through how you want to have that and how important this process is, because you might need to make changes along the way. And lastly, for the operating procedures, committees. How are committees formed? Who oversees them? Is there a purpose and responsibility for the committee, and what are they? How often are they formed? All those good questions. There's some good points in there under Article 5 operating procedure on the template that you can talk about. What are the specific duties, the ad hoc committees, how does that get formed? All of those good things. So I really want you to think about committees and how they're applicable to your organization, and then how can they be best utilized. So great. We made it to the end of the Constitution template. Again, you are welcome to go back and review that at any point. The one thing that I will mention also here on the template, you will see that Article, 8, I think? Yeah, Article 8 is the non-hazing compliance statement. This is something that we're adding to constitutions, and I would ask that you will copy and paste or just put at least the article title in there. We are working on creating language for all student organizations to have because of the Ohio laws have changed for Collins law. So hazing is a felony now. It used to be a misdemeanor. And there's a number of training requirements that will be brought to our campus in the future. And so we are including that hazing compliance statement in your Constitution. So just be mindful of that before you get ready to upload it and all that good stuff. Again, the template is a great resource if you want to use it. You don't need to rush on creating your Constitution. You can just kind of do it at your own pace. But yeah, we'll upload that and then we'll get started on editing it, and we can start meeting about all those good things. So in that conversation, let's talk about next steps here. So I want you to continue to edit your Constitution as a group. All current officers need to agree to the Constitution. So please make sure that you all are sharing your own feedback and your own edits as you're developing this. Once you are ready to share your first draft, you're going to upload that Constitution to the last page of the training form. So you'll see on page 4, there's the last box says upload the draft to your Constitution here. You can just upload that file. I will then review the document and print it off, and I handwrite all the edits for it. Most of those edits will be like, add this or the grammatical things that you need to be concerned about. And then some of the other things will just be suggestions or just sometimes rhetorical questions that I ask just to get you thinking about some things. I then will set up some meetings throughout the rest of the semester and throughout the next couple of months that we meet together to go over reviewing those edits and answering questions. We, of course, can do those meetings in person, or we can do them over WebEx, whatever is best for you and your organization. Okay, so there we are. So page 5 here, once you hit your upload, page 5 is an opportunity for you to ask questions if you have any. I will review those questions and get back to you either via email or during our next meeting. And at the bottom of this page is a little congratulations statement there for you about completing this training. This does complete your all of your trainings, if you've completed this and you did your intro to student orgs and your mission and values, then you are all set to go. We'll just keep working through your Constitution until you're ready to become an RSO, and we'll go from there. So there's my contact information for you. Of course, you're welcome to email me at courtney.lakaitis@wright.edu or at sort@wright.edu. If you need to pop into my WebEx hours, I do have some office hours during the week, and I really appreciate your time and attention that you've taken to create your Constitution, and I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Bye.